Hello, my name's James from Lushington Chiropractic, and I'm going to talk you through a typical chiropractic examination today. This is Eve. So we're going to start off, we have a look at posture. So we check through someone's posture by looking at the hip heights, shoulder, back of the head. Eve is clothed here. Sometimes we can do this with clothes. Sometimes patients do need to get unchanged. And looking at posture, you just get that initial scan to see if there's any twists or problems, or sometimes people are twisted purely because of pain. One of the next things we'll look at is how well someone's moving. So Eve, if you bend forwards for me as far as you can, as if you're trying to touch your toes, good, and then come back up again for me. Thank you very much. Look up to the ceiling, arch back as far as you can, further, further, further. Good job. We'll then get them to bend to the left and to the right. You might notice when I was asking Eve to bend back, I put my fingers here just at the base of her lumbar spine. That gives me a very subtle pivot point so we can work out where those painful problems are coming from. After we've looked at observation, posture, range of motion, we'll typically go on and do some special tests. I'm going to show you some of the special tests that we use initially for the neck area and then also for the low back as well. First of all, let's see how Eve's neck is moving. Turn your head over the right for me, Eve, as far as you can. Excellent. And then turn as far as you can, left, left, left. Very good. Now looking straight ahead and up to the ceiling, up and back. And tuck your chin and look down to your toes. So I'm looking at this full movement, free movement in all of those directions, and also getting that feedback if there's any pain. If there is any pain, I then want to know where that pain is, and that will give me some more clues as to what's causing the problem. So if it's okay, what I want to do is put some pressure just on the side of your neck. Is that all right? The pressure here is pretty firm. It's a bit like this, and I'm feeling in to feel those joints and muscles at the edge of your neck. Is that okay? Good job. So typically we're going to talk someone through the examination so there's no surprises. And this particular test is uncomfortable. So you'll see I'm going to put some pressure on the side of Eve's neck, just around here. I'm going to stabilize her head. Thank you. So I'm feeling in around those muscles, and I would then ask Eve if something's sore or painful. And if it is sore or painful, where that pain is. And that test there will give me lots of clues about whether there's irritation around the muscles, the joints, particularly if there's problems in here in the neck, and sometimes they can radiate up and give people headaches coming from the neck, for example. So that's one of the tests we'll use, is putting that pressure on the side of the neck. The next one I'd like to do, Eve, if that's okay, is put some pressure down on your head. So you might feel that pressure, it might be uncomfortable. Let me know what you feel. So we're going to start with Eve sitting up nice and tall. I'm going to put some pressure down. Thank you. Good. Is that sore, painful, achy?
Yep.
Okay, good job. Well done. And then we're going to now focus at left and right, see if we can identify if one side is more of an issue than the other. We'll just go to the left to start with. So turn your head left, 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 Eve. Thank you. Stick your chin out a little bit as well and bring your head back and back this way a little more. So we're just lining up what's called the articular pillar on the left-hand side. So we're going to test the left-hand joints. Okay, if I put some pressure down here. Good job. So head comes back a little more. I'm going to put some pressure. Don't let me squash you. Stay strong. Good job. And relax. And then we'd ask if there's any pain. Sometimes there is pain, and sometimes that pain might come into the arm or just be localized in the neck. Again, all those answers give us some clues as to what's causing the problem. I'll now show you some special tests that we would use for the low back. So I'm going to kneel down. Is it okay if I put some pressure here into your lower back? Fantastic. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand, my fist, you can see, and I'm going to ask Eve to arch back over my hand. This will put some pressure into that lower spine, and it's a very good way of us testing this lower spine to see if that's where the problem is, see if that's what's generating the pain. So look up to the ceiling for me, Eve. Lean back over to the left-hand side, back to me, back, back, back. Good job. Thank you very much. And as I put that pressure in there, is that sore, painful, achy, or tender? A little bit of everything. Good job. Okay. As I say, that helps me identify where the primary issue is. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to come back and sit on this side for me, facing me. And I'm going to show everyone a test, one of the tests that we use for the shoulder. So we're going to have you sitting up nice and tall for me. And if I have this right arm out in front facing me, good, really good posture. Bend your elbow, drop your hand down to the floor, Eve. Good. You feel a little bit of stiffness, tension in the shoulder. Fantastic. Relax that arm down, sit up nice and tall again. Bring the left arm out in front. I always find people now, they think they know what's happening, so they start to bend the arm ready. So I have to remind them, no, good posture. Good, to keep that really good posture. Bend your elbow for me, Eve, and drop this hand down to the floor. And I have to admit, that does feel a bit stiffer, yeah? So that gives me a good clue as to the condition of the shoulders. And if we're dealing with a specific shoulder problem, I'll then go on and do some other tests to identify exactly what's happened. So far I've demonstrated some screening tests for the neck, particularly the low back and the shoulders. And what I'm going to do now is I'll ask Eve to lie down, and we're going to do some other tests that will give me more information about how the body's working. Chiropractic benches are different to medical benches. Typically they're narrower because we need to get to the patients. All of our benches will go up and down. So here we go. This one's going to come up for us. And the benches have got other special techniques that we can use for techniques and treatments. But at the moment, we just need it to go up. What I'm going to ask you to do, Eve, is you can bend this leg for me, please. Fantastic. Drop this knee out to the side. Good. And bring the leg back. So we're using this as a special test to get an idea of flexibility and mobility around the hip. Straighten that leg back out for me. Thank you, Eve. And we're going to bend this one. I'll come round to that side. And let this knee drop out to the side. These are typically not painful, but sometimes they can be stiff or tight, and straighten that leg down. We can do another test now just to really get some idea of mobility around the hip. Ask you to bend this leg for me, Eve. Good job. And bring this foot up here. Good. And then let your foot go away, and then let your foot come towards me. Good. So we're testing hip mobility. This is actually external rotation, and this one is internal rotation, and drop that leg down. So we're looking at that movement through the hip joint. Typically for low back problems, the hip is very important. It often gets overlooked. People focus on the spine or the pelvis, but you've got to make sure the hip is functioning well. Any stiffness around that hip will end up affecting that lower back, especially in my opinion, especially the lower lumbar region. So we'll look at that hip mobility, which was actually very good. So we're pleased to see that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check some tender points around the knee and then around the shoulder. We're using these specific tests if we can work out any patterns of problems. So one of the common areas I'll check is literally around the knee, just the inside of the knee here. So she's warning me she's got a sore knee already. And if you are dealing with someone that's got pain, they'll know, you'll know. So I'm feeling on the inside of this knee here, being fairly firm. I can feel that's inflamed. Yeah. And I find typically as a chiropractor, you're doing these tests, thank you, Eve, you're doing these tests to see if you uncover anything that the patient's not aware of, but typically you can feel the answers yourself. So as you go through the test, you can feel which one's stiff, which one's tight. I'm going to go and check the other side. It'll be interesting to compare. That one's not as bad. Good job. So they feel like it's a magic trick. How did you know where to go? How did you know the kind of magic spots? But it's because we understand the patterns in the body. And the really important bit isn't just to find out which bits are sore, because that's relatively easy, and then rub the sore bits. That's not the skill. The skill is to work out why these areas are sore and then try and fix that problem, try and get the whole system working better. There's certain key points we might check around the knees, similarly around the shoulders, pressure points around the shoulders, comparing that from one side to the other. Again, we can feel if they're sore and inflamed, and the patient will tell you, ouch, that hurts, or that feels fine. Last of all, for this bit of the demonstration, I'm going to feel through the joints in Eve's neck. I'll talk her through that. Sometimes people are nervous of the neck, completely understand that. So all we're going to do today is feel how those joints are moving. So I'm going to feel through under here. Ladies often ask, does it matter if I've got my hair down or my hair up? It doesn't matter. We'll be fine to work around it. So I'm feeling through each joint individually. And now I'm feeling the muscles down the back of the neck. And people with stress, tension, up here at the top of the neck is where they tend to carry that tension. And again, that's the kind of thing that you can physically feel with your fingers. Sometimes people ask me, what are you feeling? How do you know if there's a problem? And I'll use the analogy of a steak. Okay, so if you forgive me for this one, a raw steak will feel different to one that's been cooked medium rare or well done. So you can feel that tenderness or that toughness in the muscles. And you can imagine muscles that are tight and in spasm, they feel more like that well done steak. You can also feel swelling and inflammation. It's boggy, it's spongy. So sometimes someone might have an area, you think, gosh, that's sore, that's tender. And obviously they're surprised you can feel that. And other times it's not sore, but it's hard and it's tough. Again, that gives us all different clues as to why that problem's there, how long it's been there, and what we're going to do about it. What we're going to do now is I'm going to ask you to lie on your tummy. All right, let's see how Eve gets up. Okay, lie back down, Eve. That's not how to do it.
Okay.
So that is not a safe way to get up. The best way to get off the bed to protect your low back is to roll on your side. So sorry for letting you go in that trap there, Eve. But if you roll on your side, so roll on your side facing that way. Good. So she needs to keep her feet on the bed until she's completely on her side. Now, Eve, bring your knees up in front. Excellent. And you're going to drop your feet down, push with your hands on the bed, and you're going to pivot up that way. Up we come. Really good. So it's a lot more fiddly, but it's a lot better for your low back. And once we start treatment with someone like Eve and we're fixing her low back, we don't want her ruining that by getting off the bed in that kind of sit-up motion. Lovely. If you come and have a lie down for me, Eve, onto your tummy. Eve's fully clothed. There's plenty of patients. We can work through the clothing. Sometimes we do need to get patients undressed. We'll always talk to you about that before we do. We've got gowns to cover you up, and we'll only work on those areas that we need to get to. So I'm going to feel through Eve's spine, then I'm going to put some pressure over her hips, or more specifically over the joints around the pelvis, so I can feel how they're moving. And I'm going to feel through the muscles around the glutes, the hips, to get an idea if there's any tenderness or tension in there. So you've heard me explain all that, Eve. Is that okay if I check through? Good job. Lovely. So we're going to feel in through here. And what I'm looking for, I'm looking to see if there's any areas that are stiff, restricted. I'm going to move it. It'll probably look the same on the camera, but I'm going to move slightly to the side. I'm now actually checking the ribs. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm going to change to the other side. So I'm getting an idea if there's any regions, any areas that are stiff, or any specific joints that are stiff. I remember it took about a year back at Chiropractic College to be able to discern the subtle differences that you feel. And then obviously 5, 10, 20 years in practice, it gets a lot easier. I'm going to put some pressure over the hips, or as I say, more specifically, the joints in the pelvis. So first of all, on the left. Is that sore, achy, painful at all there, Eve? Yes. It is, okay. And we're going to put some pressure on the right. So putting some pressure over there, I'll just grab my model to show you what we're doing. So this, I was saying it looks like Halloween. It's not. This is our model of a spine, plastic model, so it lasts a bit longer than a real one, and we wouldn't want that hanging around in the corner. These joints, these are the joints in the pelvis. They move just a few degrees when we're walking and so on. And when we put pressure over them, we can feel a little bit of movement in those joints. These are tough, strong joints, but putting that pressure down, you can feel if one side is stiffer or tighter than the other. And that gives you a good idea, really, about how things are moving around the pelvis. I found over the years that whichever side I'm stood on always feels stiffer and more restricted. So that's something, as I do teaching and training, I always teach the other chiropractors to make sure they test this from standing on both sides, so you don't form a bias. Thank you very much, Eve. We'll get you up from there. Look at that. She got up really nicely. Fantastic. So there are some other tests that we would use as well. We'd test the nerves and we'd test sensation. Those tests, the way you test the nerves to test sensation is to check the reflexes. You can also simply check sensation by either use little pinpricks or tuning fork for vibration, and you can test the muscles by testing how strong those muscles are as well. So those gives us more information about how well the nerves and the nervous system are working. And sometimes with certain patients, we'll even test what are called the cranial nerves, so test vision or hearing, putting a light in the eye, checking the pupil reflexes and so on and so forth. Hopefully that's useful today, gives you an idea of the tests and assessment that we might use for someone. If you're nervous at all, we'll talk you through every stage. Sometimes people come in and they're super nervous, and we say that's absolutely fine to take a little bit slower as you go through. What we will do is we'll make sure that we feel comfortable we've got to the root of the problem. If you've got any questions, let us know, but I hope the video has been useful.